people who love Dad and came today to celebrate him and to say goodbye is incredibly touching and a beautiful testimony to his life. You were each so special to him, and it's a sweet blessing to have you all here. Thank you. When I started thinking about my dad, descriptive words of his character began flowing without end. Supporting, giving, holding, selfless, loyal, hardworking, passionate, compassionate, sacrifice, strong, serving, and caring, just to name a few. This is ironic because my dad was actually a man of few words. He didn't have to speak because the expression on his face would say it all. He knew exactly what he was thinking or feeling from his smile and his bright blue eyes. I'll never forget either of them and all the sweet memories where he would speak volumes with just a glance. My dad was a hard worker and expected not perfection, but your absolute best. He wanted the most for his family and those he knew, and would sacrifice all he had to help us achieve that. He longed to make all our dreams come true at the cost, many times, of his own time, energy, and resources, but it never fazed him. No matter what anyone needed, he was present. Not present in a friend and sinner sort of way, but present in a comforting way that you always knew he was there. Present in the background, providing to bless us and to increase our strength. You could see the joy in his heart when one of us succeeded, too. My dad also believed in the basic core values of true character: honor, respect, and self-discipline. I suppose that was the army man in his heart, or maybe just the generational era of which he grew up in. Those character traits were expected, and I'm so thankful he instilled that in his children and grandchildren. I remember asking my dad recently for my son's 9th boot camp birthday party. So, Dad, if you could give one piece of advice to these boys, what would you say? I honestly didn't know what to expect, but his words were simple, clear, and profound. Get up and get after it. It finally all made sense. That was exactly how he lived his life. That was exactly how he loved his wife, his children, his family, and his friends. My dad was a busy man. He worked hard. My dad is also one of the smartest people I've ever known, and he chose a life of service and getting after it. And more than just his own service, he had a fundamental and powerful respect for the people he served. I can't remember a time when I heard him speak negatively of someone else. He gave all he had to make sure his family and friends were taken care of. I'd bring friends over, and he always asked, so do you have enough gas to get home? Do you need any money? Oftentimes, he'd hand over 20. He continued asking those same questions when I got married, when we visited, and now to the grandkids. He longed to care for and provide for those in his life. I'm not sure how he did it, but we never did without, even in the difficult times. Although his feet often worn from injuries in the war, my dad's feet never tired from helping those the Lord placed in his path. He wasn't an outgoing philanthropist that wanted his name written on a wall or paper, but a silent and compassionate heart of steel that had his hands stretched out in love with concern and generosity to those he knew. He gave, and he gave without question or expectation. He had such a beautiful relationship with his wife, and you could see the passionate love so clearly once again in his eyes. Many of you would never know this, but there was rarely a time when my dad gave her a gift that he didn't tear up. My dad may have been hard and strong on the outside, but he was truly a gentle masterpiece on the inside. They would have been married 46 years this November, something you rarely see these days. Their love is truly an inspiration. They served one another in sickness and in health, in richer or poor, and in good times and bad, they loved, respected, and gave to each other themselves selflessly. As I got older, my dad often put me in charge of getting special occasion gifts for my mom. Those were some of my favorite conversations with him as he tried to describe things my mom had mentioned throughout the year. He would get so frustrated with me when I just couldn't figure out what he was talking about, but he knew perfectly. It always brought me such joy to watch him strive to bless her. He cherished her, adored her, was so proud of her, relied upon her, and the past couple of years even owed his life to her. Their sacrificial love for one another goes beyond the depths of comprehension. We didn't really take vacations growing up, but once I graduated high school and my mom graduated nursing school, they all began. First Disney, then Washington, San Antonio, Colorado, then Las Vegas. Those memories are still so vivid and wonderful. It was though he worked hard all his life to get us through school, and then he took a deep breath and sigh of relief to enjoy that labor. One of my favorite memories was visiting San Antonio and going to Fiesta, Texas for 4th with Six Flags, and riding the giant wooden roller coaster. No one would ride it with me, so Dad said he would. Okay, I have to admit, I was a little worried he would have a heart attack because I'd never seen my dad ever ride anything. But we both survived. Actually, I think he more than me. Like I said, he lived his life to give us the world, even if it meant doing things way out of his comfort zone. He wasn't a man of many hobbies, but we did grow up loving to fish. For a while, we owned a second home out at the Teak Lake and spent every weekend cooking out and fishing together. We didn't catch much, except great memories. He was also one of the first to introduce my children to fishing, something we've now grown to love. I'm not going to stand here and say my dad was perfect. He was human and he was stubborn. He really should have had red hair, but I've been told that skips a generation. Obviously, stubbornness doesn't skip like hair color because I'm just like him, and we now have another little redhead following suit. That stubbornness, though, was what has enabled my dad to stand so strong and firm in the face of many adverse circumstances. He was stubborn to never give up hope. He was stubborn to never let the worst bring him down. He was stubborn to fight back and succeed when so many things stood against him, like his health. He was also stubborn in his love for us and diligently providing to see us reach our goals. One of the sweetest relationships of my dad's was with his son. Oh, how he loved you. He might have been hard on you and might not have spoken verbally often enough, he loved you, but he was so proud of you. Once again, it resonated with his smile and eyes. He worried about you, wanted the best for you, wanted you to be happy, and was so very proud of how you served at the church helping others, working hard for your family, and of the man you've grown to become. I might have been a spoiled little girl, but you were the son, and there was no competition for that true bonding of a dad and son relationship. He treasured you, and was so truly thankful for all you did to help in these past many months, and the ways you selflessly gave to him during his weakest moments. I pray you always remember deep in your heart his love for you, and what an amazing son you are. One of the greatest joys of my life was the Lord blessing our family with children so that he could become a granddaddy. Dad could be half asleep or exhausted, but he always had energy to love on those boys. The light on his face when they came around was so endearing. You can watch the video slideshow to see just what I mean. Just as I had experienced growing up, having my daddy wrapped around my pinky, now he would get to live through it all over again. They had him wrapped around not just his pinky, but his whole hand. He would give them the world and anything they asked for. You know there's love when a child can come in the room, grab the remote, change the channel to cartoons, and a grown man never says a word. And how those four love their ice cream. It was almost a nightly conversation. Give those boys some ice cream, they need to fatten up. He would say, yes, my kids love their granddaddy, and especially loved how he watched out after their health. They only lived in Denton for less than a year and a half, but we already have our own table at the local Brahms, where Daddy got his traditional swirl waffle cone. It's not difficult at all to know where I got my sweet tooth from. My father was a great man who did not accept his own greatness. He was my Superman with a golden heart. And today we are here to celebrate his life. While I was in college, I took an outreach course at my church that taught me how to share the gospel of Christ using the bridge diagram. I thought, perfect time to find out my dad's story. I didn't really know his testimony of faith or if he actually did believe and accept Jesus dying on the cross for him. He worked hard and Sunday was his day of rest. So mostly it was just Mom, Mike, and I attending church. It was my time to find out, and being in college, of course, I thought I knew it all. And was naively bold as ever until I got in front of my dad and started asking those two deep questions. So, Dad, if you were to die today and stand before God, how sure are you that you would go to heaven? 0 to 100%. And if you were to die today and stand before God and he asked you, why should I let you into my heaven, what would you say? So interestingly enough, my dad, the man of few words, actually had quite a lot to say. Again, not in quantity, but quality. He had a strong faith, one that was his own and something he mostly kept to himself. I think it was just that he didn't grow up with it being freely shared, so it was something he didn't really talk about. But I'm so thankful the Lord provided that sweet moment. Because now, as his life on this earth has come to an end, it is because of those two little answers that his family and friends can rest, rejoice, and find comfort in his life. Because his life hasn't ended. It's only begun, and he's finally home. So his answers? He said boldly, yes, I'm sure. You can count on that. Don't worry about me. I believed he died for me and saved me from my sins. I was baptized when I was young, and I still believe the same thing now. It hasn't changed, and it won't. Done. That was all he said. I continued through the diagram anyway for practice and just to be sure. Once again, he stared me face to face, a little frustrated, and spoke these words that resonate so clearly in my mind today. Yes, I've done that. This world is not our home, and I'm so thankful my dad has now entered into eternal glory where he's no longer in a spelling body. We all have a choice to make that will affect us eternally. The choice to know Jesus, accept that we're sinners and can't get to heaven on our own merit, that we need a Savior and he's the one way, the truth, and the life. I pray that like my dad, even if it's just quietly in your soul, that you have a faith that is yours, real, authentic, passionate, and true. Although my heart is broken and grief will overcome me many days, and most minutes of the day for a while, today we can rejoice and celebrate. Rejoice that he's finally home and celebrate all the wonderful ways the Lord used him to touch each of our lives. I'm sure you each have your own story to tell of my dad, and this was just a snippet of mine. He'll always remain my hero. My dad, a man of few words, a man of character, a man of faith, a man of strength, the rock and steel of our family. I love you, Daddy. I know you're getting up and getting after it in heaven, just like you did when you were here.